applause, people.
It's the 10 core commitments. Listen here, man. Can nobody tell me nothing about handing out these keys? Making this money.
What can we do faster, more efficient, better quality, and customers want it? We're trying to do everything as much as we can remotely.
It is definitely my pleasure to be able to bring Rob to the stage. But before I get into it, I want to just be crystal clear. Because, you know, I'm a promoter. I'm always promoting shit, right? A coach or a manager is not all. You have to have the talent. You have to have the vessel to be able to mold, to be able to work with. The reason why Bob Ruth Ford is so successful unequivocally is because of the team, the interdependence, the synergy behind it. Because I've worked with thousands of stores, but none that have had the level of success that they had. So dealer synergy is only a piece of it. The rest of the organization is the sum of it. Does that make sense? So, Rob, I want to get in here and say first that what you've accomplished, not just in the internet department, but the whole infrastructure of your store is incredible. So I'm excited for you to tell everybody. So let's start with your background. How did you get into the automotive industry? Tell us, did you know?
I was born into it.
Okay,
yeah.
So tell everybody, what was that like?
My parents actually met at a dealership. My mom was a receptionist. My dad was wholesaling cars, and he met her, and here I am.
So you were really born into the business?
100% born into the industry. My dad was he is the American dream, no education, started as a mechanic, worked his way to a salesperson, got into management, became a general manager, and then he bought a store in 1983. My parents were split up. I actually lived with my father, and when he bought our store, we lived at the dealership in an apartment above it. So as a 6-year-old young man, I started working in the automobile business. I hung out with technicians and salespeople as a young kid. So it's just part of who I am. Yeah.
So, and I'm so glad that I got an opportunity to meet your dad and tell us about some of the lessons that you learned from your dad and some of, especially the ones that you still value today. You know, time evolves and what have you, but what are some of the lessons or principles that he instilled into you throughout your life?
Sure. He was old school. So old school was bell to bell, work hard, and if you do this, you can get this, right? And one thing I knew that I didn't want to do was get into the car business, right? Because I saw what it took from him at a young age and what it takes from your family, and it was just, our lives were completely surrounded about our dealership. So I knew that's not what I wanted to do. But then I actually got out into the real world and I started doing some thinking, and it's around the year 2000. The internet was coming around. Dealers were scared that it's going to take over our business. People are going to buy directly from the internet. Dealers are not going to have franchises anymore. And I felt at that point in time I could make an impact, a positive impact on the company. And that's when I made the decision I wanted to be a part of this. And together we were partners for 17 years. So
that's absolutely incredible. Was there a time that you fell in love with the industry? Like something was going on, you're like, man, I am so blessed to be able to do what I do. I love this.
I think like anything else, you fall in and out of love sometimes, and I fall in love with our industry every day. It evolves, it's different, there's different roles, you learn skills, you master the skill, makes you feel good, it makes you fall in love, then you learn new skills, and you do the same thing, and you just keep repeating and growing, etc. So you all know, you do it. It's a challenge. If you're in this industry, it's tough, and it's not for the weak. And to me, I like that challenge. I like overcoming obstacles and getting to new levels.
Speaking of the challenges, you survived just in your lifetime the 08-09 recession, which crippled a lot of dealers. A lot of dealers went out of business, and then the pandemic. Has anybody seen Forrest Gump? Yeah. Okay, this is Lieutenant Dan. Okay, no, you have no idea. So I want to talk about this. This man took on the state of Pennsylvania on his back during COVID. Can you please share? This is how you got so many fans. Your competitors, were respecting you. Can you just share what that was like during COVID and what you did and why you did what you did?
I have to preface it on where we were at as a company.
Yes.
So my father passed away in 2017. I became partners with my stepmother for a short period of time. We had to work through just the transition. I ended up buying the company in the end of 2019, which, I went all in, okay? And at that point in time, and Rob and I talked about, we were on fire. It was like, okay, we're through this hurdle, let's go. Everything's going in the right direction. I was at NADA, I was at Cardone. It was like, life is good, we're rolling. Well, then it was this virus, and we're like, what is going on? Well, next thing you know, our Pennsylvania state government says, okay, you're non-essential, you can't sell cars. And we're like, what are you talking about? Well, we didn't even want people in the dealership, and we were figuring things out on our own. We had tents set up outside. I mean, we were trying to protect our employees and the clients, but it was like, no, cut it down. Well, we went with the flow, and then Pennsylvania decided, well, they're going to give out certain waivers to certain dealers, and this guy was going to be open, and this guy, who knows when it was. Well, that didn't sit well with me. I was in panic mode. I knew how much cash we had, and I could start doing the math, and it was like, okay, this needs to stop now, or it's not going to take long. So I did the only thing that I could do. I just spoke up, and I spoke up for our people. It was their jobs, it was our livelihoods, and I thought that was right, and a lot of people agreed with me.
Including the state of Pennsylvania.
The state of Pennsylvania did not agree with me, but that's okay. Yeah.
So let's now get into when I first met you. It was how many years ago now?
I met you in 2015.
Jesus,
you came
it goes
to
by so quick.
a 20 group meeting in Key West, and we didn't really get to know each other, but I was interested.
Mm-hmm.
We as dealers, we spend a lot of money in advertising to get people in the door, and you could see the shift at that point in time where, okay, they weren't just coming in the door as much, but our internet traffic and our phone calls just kept going up and up and up, and you're watching, you don't have a process for it. And you're just watching money just going out the window. So I was interested, and you had talked about this conference. It was in, I think it was in New York at that time, or Philadelphia. It was New York.
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, yeah. So I came to Brooklyn. Again, I'm interested. I brought a teammate with me, and I was like, we got to make a change. And this change is not going to be easy, but we've got to get a handle on our business because this isn't going away. These phone calls and internet leads are going to continue to rise, and the business that we once knew and kind of relied on isn't going to be this way a few years from now. So the next year we came back and we partnered up. We got to know each other, and the rest is history.
And if I remember the profile, correct me, you guys were doing 2.25. I think your Hero Montap on was like 235. Yep. You were 4-1 used cars at that point.
Right,
yeah.
and probably 5-1. A lot like Glenn Lundy.
Yeah.
That's our.
And so the goal was, okay, how do we take the store from 75 units that's doing 235? And this is important, guys, and for the internet managers that are here, one of the frustration points from dealers and GMs is when they do an internet or BDC, one of the pushbacks I hear is there's no net lift. So let me explain. So if the store is doing 235 and the department's doing 75, for example, but then all of a sudden you come in and now the internet department's supposedly doing 150, but it went from 235 to 255, the math doesn't add up just because you're shuffling the deck. And that's what we wanted to avoid with Bob Ruth Ford. We wanted to have a true net lift. So to do so in the spirit of Covey, begin with the end result in mind. We created the model first, okay? And Rob, what you saw me do on my presentation on the first day, that model with the carryover leads and the fresh, that's exactly what we talked about with you. And the strategy was, how can we get the most amount of deals from the internet purchase requests and phone ups from the month that we're in, but more importantly, the residual flow factor, the carryover leads. And to do so, what we had to do together was recruiting, staffing, recalibrate the CRM, which we're gonna get into, training, and then the support side of things. So let's talk about HR. How important is having the right people and the right amount of people for a business development or internet initiative?
I fought you with this for forever.
What was that, sir?
I fought with you forever about
Don't worry, I got other vendors
vendors
that are in here too.
For the record, you were right. Yes, you were right.
LA, get me a remix. You
but
were
we
right.
compromised because
I had no choice.
If you remember Jenna's idea, we have a remote team.
Yes.
So, as a dealer, you're looking at the expense of employees and the training of employees, and as an internet coordinator, that's not a job that people want to stay in forever, right?
Right.
So, it was expensive, but to maximize your marketing efforts and to maximize the amount of opportunities you have to have the correct amount of people doing the job. And what you said is correct. And I will not fight you with it. I support you. You're 1,000% correct.
So, folks.
And my team agrees too.
There is a model, and I didn't get to really elaborate on this, but just think about this. If you have a BDC rep or internet coordinator, we call them, that is brand new or underperforming, I recommend 80 leads. If they are average, 100, 120. If they're above average, 120, 150. If they are a rock star, they're their next coming, 170. Anything over those numbers, you are 1,000% wasting
money.
I'm Sean Bradley, and 25 years doing this, I can't handle 170 leads fresh because of the residual flow factor. Because if I have another 150, that's over 320, opportunities in a month to do phone calls, emails, text messages, social media DMs, Apple FaceTimes, animated, memes, GIFs, all this other stuff. It's just not enough time. So having the right amount of people, the right infrastructure is system critical. Now, question, what about hours of operation? Because we went back and forth with that. Do you see hot points? Do you see points that there's more connections or more conversations like heat mapping, throughout the day? What would you say?
We actually just talked about this. So you're constantly trying to solve a problem of employees and clients. And employees want to work less, work smarter, and clients want instant gratification at all times. So we've actually our hours are much less than they were pre-COVID. Mm-hmm. We've figured out how to do more with less time. But to answer your question, you definitely have to staff for your busy times. You have to be prepared for when the client wants to do business, not necessarily when you want to do business, which is a challenge.
What makes me think of, and I haven't ever said this out loud, I just thought of it just right here, is on a Saturday, any of us car people, we would start to freak out or twitch if we didn't have coverage on a busy Saturday, right or wrong. But yet, every day, that's what happens with all these internet leads and BDC leads that are just sitting and fermenting in the CRM because we don't have coverage. Just because we don't have the physical body in front of us to remind us, hey, we're not doing something right, because they're hidden in the CRMs, it doesn't make it okay. So I love that he said this. Now, without a doubt, one of the most difficult aspects of my program is the point guards for various reasons. And so to define a point guard, in my system, it's the hybrid. What does that mean? Instead of it just being all appointment setters, I don't believe that works. And I don't believe cradle to grave and just salespeople works. I think the middle ground is having internet coordinators or BDC reps and strategically trained salespeople called point guards. We call them point guards, you call them whatever you want. The challenge is, if the management doesn't understand this, if the management's not supporting this, then what happens is the salespeople that are working with the BDC, they'll come in and cherry pick stuff, or they'll come in and use the BDC as like a servant or like an assistant and not putting in the work. A point guard has to actually be pretty much a BDC rep doing all that type of work. And so, can you talk about how frustrating it was? Because it was frustrating, and they didn't want to do this. Why do you feel the salespeople and management did not want to embrace the point guard system at first?
I think people want change, but they don't want to be the change. That's where I would say, right? Hey, I want change. I don't like this, but don't ask me to do anything.
I want abs of steel, but
right.
I'm not trying to do what I need to do to get those abs of steel.
So our salespeople need to evolve. Correct?
Yes.
And I think we do a good job as an organization of kind of breaking down some of those walls between the BDC and the sales floor and our VBC and our finance department. Like, we're one team going in the same direction, and we all have a common goal together. And every single step is just as important as the next, because if there's one breakdown, the whole machine breaks. So I think we've done a really good job of just getting people to see a bigger picture and the value in our BDC. And if you want opportunities, I call them dealer-provided opportunities, we have a system in place, and you can have as many as you want as long as you follow that system, which is your system. Fortunately, I have Jenna and Ariel that they help monitor, and we have accountability towards it. So it's either get in or get out. And I don't mean that with any disrespect, but this is the right thing for everybody. It's the right thing for our clients, and that's what we're going to do.
So, and I want to be clear, he's not being paid in any way, shape, or form. He's not getting a discount on his bill. This is
I'd like
just,
one, though.
Well, about that. So, but this is sincere. He's doing this for the love of the industry and trying to help you guys. The numbers I'm going to tell you, dealers are like, because people, Sean Bradley is 6'2". I look taller on video, but I'm only 5'5". The reality is what I'm about to tell you is legitimately real, and he's going to verify stuff. I go into a store and I say, look, these coordinators should be making 120 outbound calls a day. And then at first, a little bit. Then the manager goes, well, they were doing 60 before, 80's better. I'm like, no, it's got to be 120 from the rip. And at first they didn't believe it, but question for you, having 9 agents that you do now, 6 in the Philippines, 3 in the United States, is it realistic for them to make a minimum average of 120 calls a day?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm a believer.
It's not, it's about quality, not quantity. No, stop. Don't let your people tell you inaccuracies. Let me explain the science to this. Without a predictive dialer, which means like normal dialing a phone or a CRM click to call, it's on average, depending in the region, between, I'd say, 7 to 10%. I know it's a big swing, but again, different regions or what have you. Let's just call it in the middle, 8%, right? Let's just say it's 8%. That means if I make 100, just make the math simple, 100 outbound calls, I am only going to talk to 8 people in a day. It doesn't mean that the agent sucks or whatever. If Sean Bradley, Rob Ruth, or any of you made 100 or 120 outbound calls, you're only going to get a small percentage to actually answer you or call you back. So what are your people doing all day if they're not doing product presentation, demonstration drives, deliveries, putting plates on, moving cars, shoveling snow? What are they doing? They're being distracted with things disguised as opportunities. And that's part of the challenge, is that we had to kind of chiropractic tweak, but now they're in rhythm. And I know Jenna and them, if somebody's doing 102 calls, they're having a conversation, because you need X amount of outbounds to convert to X amount of connections. Audience, does that make sense? Okay, next thing is, I believe it's been many years since we started this with you. and if I'm wrong, correct me, it's okay. I believe that we helped you go from 75 to 150 really quick. I think it was like either 90 or 120 days.
Correct.
Okay, you guys hear that? That's like some Beyonce upgrading shit. How do you go from 75 cars out of the department to 150 that quick? Because the model works. It's not that I'm special or even, the system. It's math. If you have X amount of leads, you have X amount of bodies that are trained, and that we're not getting each other's way, you're going to be able to convert. But the question is, you didn't get to that 320 for a while, like a year or two later, because why?
When we made the decision to take all the marketing efforts away from our sales floor, okay, and start a BDC, I was not a very popular guy at my store for a while. Understood. It was a disruption. This is what I'm used to. This is how I make money, and now you're telling me they're going to get all. So you can rip the Band-Aid off, which if I went back now, I'd rip the Band-Aid off. But at that time, it's like you got a team, you care about them, you're trying to help them through these transitions. That's why it took so long. So it's on me, 100%.
But it's also hard, though, if you think about this too, Rob. If I'm a dealer and I just went from 75 to 150, and I just had a lot of gross, why rock the apple cart? So I get that. I'm the mad scientist, like, there's more, there's more, there's more. And so it's not complacency, but it's acceptance. Like, man, we're doing good. This is good. I don't want to disrupt the apple cart. So the lesson here, though, is, sometimes as a manager or leader, we make decisions because we think that we're helping our people, but we are limiting their potential. And so I haven't ever asked you this question. If you could go back and do it again, I think you said it just now, you'd rip it off, but I want to just hear it again. Would you have been more direct or more forceful for the system?
If you know the future and you know what's to come, absolutely.
There you go.
Like, I would absolutely do it. But I mean, there's a fear factor of my own. Am I doing the right thing? Is this, the world's changing, so you got to evolve. So it doesn't always happen overnight. Big change doesn't happen overnight because you don't know the future. You don't know what is to come or the outcome of it. So
it's so funny you say that, because for me,
hindsight 2020, absolutely.
You're speaking the truth, man. For me, for doing this for 25 years, when I go into a store, I see it. Like Groundhog Day, Bill Murray, I see it over and over again. So I have a different perspective or paradigm that I operate. But the dealers, sometimes I forget that the dealers that bring us in, they don't have that vision or understanding. So there is fear, and even the ones that are excited to get started. But then when they get into it, Rob, because he said it, this is not easy. There's a lot of moving parts. They're like, oh shit, this is more work than I thought, or there's more moving parts. And it's like, it's easier to either Frankenstein it or it's easier to kill it than it is to go through. Can you talk about that?
I wouldn't say Frankenstein. You say that word. I would call it navigate. Like, you got to navigate the storm here. There's a storm.
You maybe didn't Frankenstein, but I've got dealers that straight Frankenstein stuff.
Understood. I will say I'm glad that I started back in 2016 putting this together versus starting today, right?
Why do you say that?
Why? Because I think that we're ahead of the curve.
Yes.
I think if you're here and you're learning these things, you're ahead of the curve, because not everybody's thinking like this. They're just thinking, oh, we can, dealers still think it's COVID times for some reason, right? It's not. This is a completely different market than it was 3 years ago, and we can't operate the same way.
And it's funny you say that too, because Gina over there, sales manager for a Toyota dealership from the Chicago region. I think we have another person from that region too. I am proud to say that Toyota in the Chicago region, which is a major region for them, is evangelizing us to 112 rooftops in 4 different states. The way that they evangelize us on these things, Gina, am I right or wrong? They are so into what we're doing because it's different. They've said to me privately that, it's Toyota, so they have an ego, but they're like, our dealers need this. They need this. So that's different, because I'm not a corporate person. So for Toyota to turn on and embrace me in the
dealers
system.
Dealers do need this.
Exactly.
Your clients need better communication, right? We serve our clients. So if we're not serving them properly, we're not going to be in business, period.
Well said, brother. You know, again, it's funny. I did this on purpose. The internet and phones are the new showroom. Does anybody know that about 12 years ago, I did that presentation at NADA, that the internet and phones are the new showroom 12 years ago. But yet I had to do it for Toyota a couple weeks ago, and I did it here on purpose so I could just say these words. Rob is right. You know, it's whoever's first has the competitive edge. You know, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they're always the best at stuff, but if you are first to market or first to trend, you have that unfair competitive edge. Now, if you fumble the ball with that advantage, that's on you. So everybody here has that edge over their competitors. Now, let's redirect. CRM. Give Rob the checks for what's about to come, all right? CRM, in my opinion, is one of the absolute most important tools in a dealership. It's the central nervous system of the dealership. If you think about it, unfortunately, they don't explain the truth to you guys, you know, and I'm not saying it's lies, but they're all here, like 3 of them are here. The reality is this: there is no CRM training from CRM companies. They train you on buttonology. They train you in product knowledge. Let's say if you're a Ford dealer, Ford manufacturer does not train you and certify you on the road to the sale. They train you and certify you in product knowledge. It is up to the dealership and the dealer group on how to sell the car. With the CRM, it's the same thing. It's not their responsibility how you use the CRM. And we don't understand that. Most of the time, the dealers do not put their action plans or their processes or their strategies in there. And if you think about this, the scariest part is your entire organization, from BDC, sales, management, F&I, whatever, is all based on whatever processes and plans are put into your CRM. So if they're shitty, well, how effective are your people going to be? Gina, true or false? Somebody get her mic, please, because this is Toyota OEM stuff here. Did we not do this whole entire session with Toyota on CRM? And we analyzed them. And even her store, I'm finding dealers are only setting up their internet leads for 2 to 3 weeks. The average buying cycle is 90 days. How do you get 500, 800, 1,000 leads a month, but you're only following up with automation and content for 20 days, 21 days? So, in your opinion, as a dealer principal, whether it was before, now, or us, or whatever, how important is CRM culture to your organization?
I mean, I think it's your lifeline. That's your communication. That's all your information's there. And I think as a dealer, you know, we need to learn. We don't need to be the expert in everything. Like, I don't need to be the expert. I just need to solve the problem, right? My job is to solve the problem for our employees, for our clients. I'm going to find an expert, whether it's you or somebody else. I got to find someone that knows this, that I don't have to go through that learning curve and take a bunch of time to be an expert, and then all the things I should be doing don't get done there as well, right? So that would be my advice. Find people that they have the answers, they've already done it, and then draft with them.
Speaking of which, what's really working for you besides dealer synergy? You know, like what is really successful for your business? Like whether it's resources, it's technology, it's people. Why are you so successful? Why is Bob Ruth so successful?
I think it's our culture. It's our team. I mean, we work together. We care about each other. We align personal, professional, financial goals of the employee along with the vision of the company, and we try to make sure there's a career path for anyone that is in our organization. So it's not one person, it's all of us, and it's a lot of people that aren't here today.
How do you get that? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that be like, I want that for me, you know, and I want them to have it. So how can they get it? How can they create it?
Just start.
How? Forrest Gump me. Give me simple steps. Like, what's the first thing
I think,
you do?
okay, whatever position you're in, try to be better at it. And if you're in a leadership position, how can I become a better leader? How can I influence my people better? How can I have better relationships with them? How can I help them get to another level? Because at the top of the organization is the sum of all of its parts. So if we focus on the success of our people, then the organization is going to grow along with it.
Hi, my name is Sean Bradley with Bob Ruth Ford. I got a couple questions for you. Do you dread shopping for a vehicle? If that's you, you're not alone. You're not weird. A lot of people feel the same exact way as you do. But what they found is that by working with us here at Bob Ruth Ford, we're different. We have created something called the Bob Ruth Ford's VIP experience. VIP experience, yeah, Sean, what is that? What that is that we do business differently. Let's start with full transparency. We will give you any and all information, whether it's about the price of the vehicle, what we own it for, what the MSRP is, or if you want to sell us your car, what your credit, what you qualify for, what your interest rates. We will give you full disclosure from the comfort of your home. You don't have to come to us for that. We will do that for you remotely. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. Next is, if you want to test drive the vehicle, you don't even have to come to the dealership. We'll actually deliver the vehicle to your home within 25-mile radius from the dealership for a free test drive. Let me repeat that. Even if you don't buy the vehicle, we will drop the vehicle off at your home so you could park it in your driveway in front of your house, test drive it around the neighborhood. In my opinion, that's the best test drive ever around your own neighborhood, right? That means we could do the entire deal remotely from the comfort of your home, office, your cell phone, or even your iWatch, if you will. And we could do one of two things if you decide to purchase a vehicle from us. We could set up an off-site delivery free of charge to your home or office, or you could schedule what's called an expedite delivery process, meaning you come in, do a final inspection of your vehicle, and be in and out of the dealership in less than 30 minutes. The bottom line is this is the new way to shop and buy vehicles, and this is Bob Ruth Ford's VIP experience. So I say, come experience the difference.
Can you share with everybody what your virtual experience is? Because I'm really impressed. You do things very differently from most of the United States. So kind of just give how do you sell cars? How does Jenna and her department sell, and Ariel sell hundreds of cars virtually?
Well, I think the biggest thing, and Roy DeVia said it the other day, we're not just trying to make an appointment. We're trying to help that client down the sales funnel, whether they're at home or whether they're at the dealership. And I greatly appreciate you going with us on this, because at first this wasn't something you're like, no, we got to set the appointment, then the show.
So your vision.
You did. And what's your most valuable asset besides your family? What do you value most?
Time.
Time. Same as everybody here, right? Convenience. So how can we be more convenient for people? Well, they hate buying a car because of how long it takes to buy a car. That's the biggest complaint. Google it. 4+ hours to buy a car. Who wants to do that? None of you want to do it. So why would we give that experience to any of our clients? So I'm thinking, well, what can we do? Well, we're talking to them, we're messaging with them, we're communicating with them. Let's just, instead of trying to set the appointment, let's just figure out what's the next step for them. And let's do the majority of our homework while they're at home, while they're comfortable, because that's on their time. Like, we're not taking their time, right?
Right.
And then when they come in, we're prepared. It's efficient, it's fluent, and people love it.
Yeah, can I get a round of applause for that, please? All right, I want to just show one more. Okay, one of the things that is really kind of cool about you guys, there's so much, is you do a lot of social media. Okay, so we only had time for just a couple quick ones right here. So this is a TikTok one. We put it on YouTube so we can play it, but. And let me see the stats on this one. Okay, so this one, it's 16,000 views and 900+ likes. And the other one that I just wanted to see right here, 99,000 views and 1,000+ likes on this one. Awesome. Who creates all this stuff?
Our marketing department.
Marketing department.
Yeah.
How important is social media to you guys, and why?
I mean, that's just where people are spending their time. You got to be there. Like it or not, you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? So we've just embraced it.
And guys, I don't understand this whole TikTok stuff. My daughter's got 2.5 million views on a video. I don't understand it. You know what I mean? But it works. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's do this. We have time for probably just like one or two quick questions. If anybody has for Rob Ruth. Gina, do you have anything? We just signed up with your company at the Toyota dealership. So what questions you got for Rob?
Well, I think that what I'm dealing with right now is that I'm coming into a company where we're making major changes on the showroom floor. So one thing that really stood out to me here is that garbage in, garbage out when you think of the CRM. So I think that it's important that everybody keeps that in mind too, that what you're putting into the CRM, really does matter. So I'm actually really excited about this because I'm interested to see where we go from there with that. I want to know, how did you get everyone on board? You said that there was a time there where you went from, you had a really good jump. I'm sure everyone was really excited. Everyone was all gung-ho, ready to go, and we're selling from 75 to 150. So you said it took longer to get to that next step, that 350. And you wish you would have just ripped the Band-Aid off. What were some things during that time, during that transition time, where you're making those culture changes that were really important and really stood out and made a difference to you and your team?
I think you got to put yourself in that person's shoes. That you're asking for change, and you need to recognize it's not easy. None of us really love change. We know we have to do it. My advice would be just keep going. Like, we're keeping going still. We're not perfect by any means. We still struggle with those same things, but we've made a lot of progress. So I wouldn't put it, oh, now we're there. We're not there. We're just keep getting a little bit better every day. So that would be my advice to you, and hopefully that answers your question.
Karen? Microphone, Perry's coming. Round of applause, Perry, please.
Woo! And if I remember correctly, you worked on bridging the gap between the showroom and the internet, correct?
Yes, and again, we continue to bridge that gap. And you can ask our team, it's a daily thing. We just have to keep reminding everybody the importance and why we do what we do versus just do it because, hey, I'm saying to do this. We're doing this because this is the way our clients who pay our bills, who we serve, this is the way they want to communicate with us. They've decided that, so we need to be great at it.
Awesome.
John Luciano, I got to tell you, this is like family, this organization right here. My daughter worked there for 3 years. When you hear Rob, give him the mic, when you hear Rob talking and his stuff, sounds familiar. Stuff that you guys deal with point guards and things like that.
Yeah.
Does any of this inspiring to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the point guards has always been our Achilles heel. Yeah.
It has been, I'll be honest.
Sure. We struggle with that. Trying to have enough deals for the showroom floor and for the BDC. Trying to find that right person to be the point guard, which we've been struggling with.
How did you guys crack that code? Like, how did you guys, because that was a pain in the ass for a while, but now you guys have got it locked in, which, from my understanding, the salespeople want the internet now at the store.
We don't have that's an internet department sale, and this is a sales floor sale. You're going to need
internet
both.
dealership. Their whole dealership is built around this model now.
Correct. So we're not competing internally for that type of thing, because I think could be where the friction comes from. It might cost you a little bit more, but looking at the bigger picture, it was the right move for us because, like I said, we all want to row in the same direction.
And he said something very, very important there. I can't go into a store because they'll kick my little ass out and say, okay, we're going to make an internet universe, right? They're like, okay, he's delusional. So I start with the point guards because that is the minimum that we need to make this thing work. But he's right. The ultimate way is the way that they're doing it. He took it to another level by creating this model throughout the entire organization. That's where the ecosystem is the healthiest. The point guard system is just the stepping stones to get there, but sometimes we can't even get past those stepping stones. But I just wanted you to hear this. I'm so glad you guys are here for this. I love you guys a lot. Okay. Questions? There's one last one right there. She's got one quick question before they drag me off the stage.
I'll make it very quick.
Yes.
I'm constantly living in a struggle where I'm hearing, oh, this isn't fair. And to me, fair is subjective, right? We talked about that the other day. How are you addressing this with your team? Who are you picking as your point guard? Like, I'm sure we've all heard it. How are you making it fair to keep that retention?
I think you start with the people that want it first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's where I would go if I was in your shoes. Like he said, the stepping stone. And then it would be my mission to make sure that those point guards are highly successful and give everybody the opportunity to be one by following this program. Make sense?
Everybody, do me a favor. Please give my very good friend Rob Ruth a round of applause.
Thank you.
Rob. That was awesome.
Wow, absolutely phenomenal. Yes. Give me more. Listen, if you don't have access to Bradley On Demand, you're missing out on crucial information. The top automotive groups like Coons, Lithia, and Norm Reeves have all used Bradley On Demand to train their teams. And guess what? The world's #1 car salesman, Cody Carter, shares his exclusive strategies right here. You want his secrets? You gotta have Bradley On Demand. Stop waiting and start winning. Dominate your market. Click the link and get access now.